This morning on our Greetings from the Garden State segment, well, let me phrase that differently. Usually, when we start this segment, I say, Mike Ham, what do you have for us coming up this week? But in this case, I already know the answer. And I think you're scraping bottom of the barrel, Mike.
I would tend to agree. No, just kidding. No, listen, I mean, we've been talking on this Jersey Magazine segment for, I think we said 10 months or about that, maybe less. And just you and I kind of having those conversations, I was like, I don't really know much about Jim. I mean, I know him kind of, but just I wanted to learn a little bit more. So we booked Jim Monaghan, and he's going to be our first episode of 2025. So congrats to
Well,
everybody listening.
thank you. I'm flattered. I mean, there are certainly some things to talk about, whether it's sports or how I got into radio or things along those lines, playing in bands over the course of the years. But I was thinking like none of it happened by career choice type of thing. Like
Sure.
I'm going to do this.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
never that was never a factor. I mean, the closest I can come, Mike, was I think I was a sophomore in college and I wasn't in a band. I
Yep.
was doing a little bit of radio, but I remember sitting down and saying to my mom, I think I want to do something in the music industry. And the look of panic on her face.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to think about that, but she panicked.
Get a real job.
Yeah, exactly. Get a real job. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I
Yeah,
had no idea. I mean, up until junior year in college, there was talk that I might consider the priesthood. And we all see
sure.
how that turned out.
A little bit of a departure from there.
Yeah, just
But
a
I think
little
that's
bit.
yeah, and I think that's why you and I get along so well is like outside of the obvious um similar interests and kind of the stuff that we do and that we're interested in that we like. Um it's the same with me. Like I have a political science degree. I obviously don't use that. I have an MBA too, which I kind of use. But it's never been a thing. Like I started as a college baseball coach. My first 6 years out of college that was my job. Then I sold title insurance for about 6 or 7 years. Now I'm doing this kind of stuff. I guess we'll probably be about. Oh, what's up, Doc? Ducks in the background. I guess we'll do that for about 6 or 7 years. But it's just like one of those things where it's like I don't know, but then when you find something that you really like and you kind of are passionate about and you can grab on and sink your teeth in, you just go for it. And here we are. And that's, one of the things that I like about you and what I've learned about you. And then doing this episode, I learned even more kind of how that path took place.
One of the cool things about the various things that I've done, and you may have found this as well, and this you just described the number of things that you did, how you take something from one area and you move it into another. The 2 seasons that I spent with the Newark Bears, for example, working with then manager Tom O'Malley, there are things not just in baseball, but in life that I
Yeah.
learned from him that I use every single day.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I feel that the same way. I felt that when I was selling title insurance, which sounds so weird to my coaching background, but like if I could convince a kid to spend in some cases $60,000 a year on an education, knowing that he's going to help us, as a baseball player on the team and all that kind of stuff, I could sell title insurance to you. You know what I mean? So like, but things like that and like the ways that you talk to people. Because I mean, now, especially with some of the stuff that we do with the live stream that we do every day and all that, like we have a team of people that we work with, and being able to like motivate and delegate and all these other things, like those, each piece of my life, while I could look back and be like, oh, that was a waste of 6 years, like it's not. Like that's a big piece of kind of what's made me today, and I feel like in a lot of ways that's the same thing with you.
I've said that to my 3 kids as they've gone from different aspects of your life. You didn't just waste that last year and a half. You
Yeah.
learned something about yourself that maybe this wasn't for me, and you
Yeah.
can go forward in a different direction. It's never a waste of time as long as you learn something from it.
Exactly. And I think like that's to me, it's something like when we were recruiting. This is a good analogy for this, and if it's not, you could cut it. Um, the idea that like we always wanted to recruit kids that played multiple sports because if they just played baseball, they could be a really good baseball player. We're not going to say no if they are, but if it's between a kid that plays one sport and a kid that plays multiple sports, we're going to take the kid that plays multiple sports because got better foot-eye coordination or better body awareness or whatever it is. Maybe just like a little bit more athletic, like more well-rounded as a person, as an individual, as an athlete. And I think that when you start looking at people that do a lot of things in their careers, one of the things can be finding like where you fit in society, but also like a lot of it too is picking up skill sets and all that kind of stuff that help you make better decisions as a business owner, as a employee, as like all this kind of stuff, and being able to kind of make that happen. And you look at job boards now, and it's like you must have 5 years of experience to be an entry level whatever, and you're like, well, for that doesn't make any sense. But I also have all these other skills that I took from all these other places, so I think that that is worth something.
Yeah, definitely. Life skills work into it in some way, shape, or form eventually.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's what's coming up. You can learn a little bit about me on the next episode of Greetings from the Garden State. You can do it at greetingsfromthegardenstate.com. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, listen, it can only go up from here.